The Eastern Cape's Herald Continental Cycle Tour is amongst the most popular cycling events in the country. And like many road events, the Herald added a mountain bike race to its roster a few years ago due to the increasing popularity of the discipline. Yes, welcome rain greeted the entrance for the Herald Continental Mountain Bike Challenge at the race start at the Addo Polo Club.
Wet weather, first race, so it's going to be a challenge for me, I think.
What can I say, eh? It's much needed rain, so can't complain.
Yes, that's what they were saying.
Very happy, excited. Mentioned getting out of bed, but this should be a good day.
Starting at 6 a.m. with the 80km Extreme, there were races for all with the 60km Adventure, the 30k Powerade Leisure Challenge, the 5k Kiddies Challenge, and even a 500-metre Powerade Toddlers Dash. A PE legend was also on the start line for the Extreme race.
I have no idea what to expect, so I haven't been on my mountain bike since last year November, so yeah, let's just bank some good mileage, and I think it's going to be a muddy day out there and pretty long, but yeah, I'm here to have some fun. So
muddy fun, no doubt, as the Extreme riders headed off on their journey. The early kilometres took them on flat farm roads through citrus orchards, a chance for the hotshots to get the legs firing. Henriette very comfortable in this terrain. But it wasn't long before they hit the brown stuff. Robin Ellingson and A.D. Nell. The incessant rain and resultant muddy surfaces ensured it was going to be a day for the hardcore riders. Back at the start, the big field of riders tackling the 60k challenge were on their way. This was without doubt the most popular event, with over 200 riders slithering away from Addo 15 minutes after the Extreme riders. While it may have been 20k shorter, the pouring rain and muddy conditions made it a truly tough challenge. The irrigation canals in the area serve the busy citrus farming industry.
Jy weet met al ons tegniese skills wat ons het, is dit nie te moeilik nie, maar dit gaan nog moeiliker raak later dink ek.
Nutrition is vital in the cold and wet as the body uses energy to keep warm. At the front end of the 80k Extreme race, there were 5 riders, among them Marco Joubert, Andrew Hill and Grant Daly. The pace was relentless and soon the group began to shrink. Daly and Jason Peach trying to close the gap to the leading trio. Daly is a bike mechanic at Action Cycles and finished second to Joubert at the Longmore Classic in December. Hill was now seemingly in firm control on his own up front. Jason Meaton and Joubert were holding steady in second and third. The beautiful Zuurberg mountain village was not far off. Marco Joubert, bearing the scars of an earlier fall, was keeping a good tempo as he closed the gap to the leaders. Another strong PE rider, Jason Meaton. 35-year-old Hill is a regular race winner in his home province of KwaZulu-Natal and rides for long-time sponsors TRB Insurance. The Zuurberg Mountains cloaked in mist, a stunning sight. Further back in the field, riders were making their wet and weary way into the oasis at the water points.
Bit muddy. This is my first attempt on a mountain bike, so it's not too bad. A little bit wet.
Perhaps the understatement of the year so far. Brad Taylor clearly impressed with the climbing prowess of Jason Burmester. Brad, though, would finish the 60k race around 15 minutes ahead of Jason.
Yeah, it was pretty hectic. Like, the mud was really deep at some points, like just water. Other points, just really slippery. But other than that, it's not too bad.
Adil Aragin and Ivan Bester toiling up the climb. At the top of the Zuurberg Pass, Andrew Hill collected the King of the Mountain bonus, closely followed by young Joubert as they head into a section of muddy single track. It was helter-skelter stuff as they negotiated their way cautiously down the greasy trail. The extreme and adventure routes had merged, and Andrew Hill was soon bearing down on the slow riders, who did the right thing and swung off to allow Jason Meaton here to go through. Stephen Fenter in the top 10, just about keeping it together. Eventually though, the thick, dark Nutella-like mud got the better of the riders and bikes, as it stuck to the wheels like peanut butter, and there was no option but to get off and push.
Hello, well done. Anyone wants a fat bike? That's how you get a fat bike. There's no other way but to say it is nasty, it is muddy, but it's a draw.
It's been wonderful up until this last muddy section, and yeah, it's been a bit of strength training, but it's good, we're going again.
Well, it's been fantastic until the last kilometre. I think I picked up about 40 kgs on my bike.
A bike mechanic's dream. But like all tough things in life, there was a reward. Some smooth, undulating farm roads through the lush citrus orchards. Wearing her best facial mud pack, Henriette Skummer leading the women's extreme race. For others, it wasn't quite as smooth. A kind farmer allowed his high-pressure hose to be used to wash the mud off the bikes and the bodies.
We're gonna have a shower. The water's nice and warm. It is warm, eh?
This was the 7th edition of the Herald Continental Mountain Bike Challenge, and notwithstanding the weather and resultant muddy conditions, the route was one the riders really enjoyed. It was similar to the 2016 event, with a good combination of open farm roads and jeep tracks, and just enough challenging single track to keep everyone happy through the Haterdale trails. The weather? Well, you know what they say, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing.
Alright, not too bad. Bit of mud, 1 or 2 slippy sections, but actually not too bad.
Locals put their water pistols to good use. Meanwhile, Andrew Hill was using all his skill to avoid a muddy swim. Nicely done. Hello Ellie Denver, hope your mum's watching. The incredible cooperation from the region's farmers saw the Sundays River Citrus Co-op allow the riders to take a short tour of their state-of-the-art pack shed. It was the driest section of the entire race. The muddy polo field at Addo awaited the leaders. And Andrew Hill put the finishing touches to a hugely impressive ride to take the win in some seriously tough conditions.
Well, it's the first time I've done this race, but as I was saying, I've ridden here before, and I just like the vibe. The people here are friendly. You arrive back at the registration, the guy's like, "Oh, cool, are you going to be coming and doing other races here?" And it's always a nice, friendly atmosphere, and I think that's always a good thing for races in the area.
And Henriette Skummer of Africa Silks powered through to the finish to claim the win in the women's race.
I paced myself nicely, and I got away about 15 k's to go. I just tried to open up the taps a little bit, but I was a bit empty today. It was a hard effort.
Then it was time to try and recognise your bike again. Great excitement in the bike wash queue.
It was absolutely magnificent. It was wet, it was muddy, it was challenging, but really it was unbelievable.
Wet, muddy, dirty, awesome. Look at me on my face now. Come on.
It truly was a day to remember for all who braved the weather, even someone who's just 17 years shy of his century.
I don't know, I've got to keep occupied, and I've got to keep healthy. So I'm doing that. I had a hip hop about 3 months ago, and I play golf, and I was quite a good squash player in my time.
At the other end of the age spectrum, there were plenty of youngsters who finished the shorter races with mums and dads. Despite the conditions, Andrew Hill clocked 5 minutes faster than last year's winner Johan Rabi. Third last year, 20-year-old Marco Hubert was 4 minutes and 16 seconds behind Andrew, with Jason Peach third. Defending champion Siska van der Bijl of Red Cherry finished 2 minutes and 40 seconds behind winner Henriette Schoeman of Africa Silks in the women's race. Fast forward a week in time and an age in weather to the start line of the 2017 Herald Continental Cycle Tour Team Relay Challenge, a first in Nelson Mandela Bay. The event took place on the Saturday before the road race, and work colleagues, friends, families and clubs put together teams to tackle the relay. The race was made up of a 23-kilometre road ride out on the beautiful Marine Drive. The roadies then turned at the entrance to the Willows Resort and headed back towards the city, but not all the way back. The roadie then handed over to his mountain biking partner for a 15-kilometre off-road section through the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University's Nature Reserve. It was jeep track most of the way and flat and fast, particularly when they rejoined the tar road. It was a time trial back to the finish. Bruce Campbell doing the business on the road bike to anchor he and Ant Daniels to victory ahead of Brad Harrington and Reinhard Strumpfer. A few hours later, under the cover of the early Sunday morning darkness, the elites and professionals lined up on the start line in Summerstrand for the big one.
Weather's not too ideal, but it's better than 40 degrees, so it's going to be hard. There's some good competition here, so yeah, let's see how it plays out. And
I think it's going to be a bit nervous in the bunch. Yeah, it always is when it starts to get a bit wet, but I guess our team will be looking to be as aggressive as possible and maybe get some good TV time for our sponsors.
Most of the top road racers in the country were in the big elite bunches. They rolled away under cloudy skies and on damp roads. The newly named Team BCX, formerly Telkom, were there, as were Dimension Data, Continental Squad, Team Alpha Bodyworks from the Boerland, and the Informed Team Road Cover, and a host of local riders keen to test themselves against the best in the country. And it took just minutes for the action to begin. Team Dimension Data were the early aggressors, setting the trend for the day. After turning away from the beachfront, they began the drag up the valley road, the peloton keeping the two breakaway riders well within reach. As the pitch steepened, they were caught. The extent of the damage the climb was doing evident further down the road as the group split up. Teams scrambled to keep in touch with the riders in front of them. No one wanted to get dropped this early in the race. Back to the beachfront in Summerstrand, the women's elite riders preparing for their start, with 2016 South African champion Andy Kachelhofer among those keen to take the win.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good race, and I think once again we'll race it a little bit more aggressively, and I'll race according to my strengths, and yeah, I'll take it from there. I've got one of my teammates, Shanta van der Merwe here, and yeah, you're going to see how the race plans out and take it from there.
The conditions aren't perfect, but it's no wind, so I think it's riding with the guys, it's going to be a big bunch sprint. And Andy's got good sprinting legs, so you can always expect a good challenge from a sprint.
Away they rolled under the cloudy, threatening skies. With so few teams, the race was likely to be an attritional battle among the strong individuals. Back with the elite men, and a surge off the front had opened a gap. Road Cover, Dimension Data and BCX all represented as they worked to get away. 3 from Dimension Data, 2 from Road Cover and 1 from BCX.
What I really like about the Herald is that it's a course that's got everything. It's not just one type of race where you could say, oh, it's made for the sprinters, or it comes past 3 years, Nolan Hoffman has won all the sprints. This race does give you the opportunities to the other riders of the stacking or climbing or strong men to really make the race difficult for us. So that's what I like about it. It's unpredictable.
Most of the climbing over the 106 kilometres comes in the first 30 kilometres, hence the early moves and the strung-out nature of the chase pack. driving the pace on the front, 20-year-old Ethiopian champion Haftab Weldu. In the women's race, best made ASG's Anli Kochelhofer was well positioned at the front of the big bunch, which contained the elite women and veteran men.
Yeah, the Herald is a very special race for me. I mean, I won it last year and had good form last year. Hopefully this year we can repeat it. But yeah, I mean, the Herald is a really, really big event, but every province has its own specific event, and the Herald is very near and dear to PE, and it's obviously for us on a calendar a really, really big race to do.
While the pros and elites were hammering along up the road, the amateurs and weekend warriors were being cheered up the Valley Road climb. Incredible support from the people of the friendly city. It's just one of the attractions of the Herald Continental Cycle Tour over the years. The people of Port Elizabeth are so welcoming as the riders wind their way through their suburbs. Back with the races at the sharp end, it was still Dimension Data and Road Cover dictating the pace up front, with BCX keeping a watching brief for their multiple Herald Tour winner Nolan Hoffman. And he wouldn't want it any other way.
Yes, I think there's huge pressure on the team. We've just now recently in the week relaunched as Team BCX from the previous Telkom team. So I think first race in the new colours, defending champions, huge pressure, big field this year, and going to be a lot of strong contenders out there. I think all of the local teams are represented here, so we're looking forward to a tough race.
The women's lead group was also being whittled down. Anli Kochhoff and Shante van der Merwe, Catherine Collane and Henriette Schumann, all well placed near the front in amongst the vets. The men's elite bunch was one of the strongest in recent years at the Herald Continental Cycle Tour, ensuring that the racing would be aggressive and hard for the entire 106 kilometres.
I think, in the past not all the teams have arrived here, so then it took a bit of punch from the race, but this year there's definitely a change. The race has been kind enough to bring all the big teams here, so obviously the standard is now a lot higher, so now it becomes more of an event to win. There's more punch behind it, more clout, so it becomes an important race to win. So obviously we do want to go out there and we want to do our best, and then we always come to races to win, so we would like to go home with a victory.
And keeping the heat on were Ariora of Dimension Data and Road Cover's Clint Hendricks. It was boiling up really nicely as they swung back towards the coastline. A sprint finish perhaps in the offing.
It's a well-balanced route. I think there's a bit of everything in there. There's chances for the climbers, and it's intermediate. So if you are a smart sprinter, you can stay with the climbers. It's all about where you ride. So I've won the event 3 times in a row, so it's one of my favorite events. Really looking forward to come here each year.
With the ocean on their right, what wind there was would be from behind. And then they were fighting it out for the King of the Mountains bonus. Road Cover's Kent Main and Nick Lamini from Dimension Data going in at hammer and tongs. You take your pick. Much further back in the field, the pace was appreciably slower as riders dug deep to get over the climbs. For some, a real toil, and others, an absolute delight.
It's fantastic. Love it. Every moment.
The pace was high in the elite group. Notice who's right at the back, the wily tactician Nolan Hoffman. Teams with ambitions of winning the race were trying to use the short inclines to get rid of the sprinter, but it was not happening. Stefan de Bot, a young man with real talent, cruising up the group for Dimension Data. Now it was getting serious. Calvin Benneker for BCX driving the pace high. Louis Visser for Dimension Data was keen to work as well. The group was noticeably smaller as they charged for home.
My role is to be aggressive, keep to my riding style. If it comes down to a bunch sprint, look after Nolan, he's definitely the fast man. And we've also got Rainer Butler, he's also the second fastest in our team. So it's the breakaway situations for me, and then if that doesn't come down, I look after the fast guys.
Close to the beachfront of PE and 3 men were away. BCX, Dimension Data and Lead Out all in the mix. Road Cover had missed the break. The women's race was also looking like it was going to come down to a sprint, which would suit the perennial PE star Henriette Skuman of Africa Silks. Andy Kachlafer would be keen to try and drop the pocket rocket if she wanted to win. Chante van der Merwe playing the perfect role of support for Anli. Catherine Collane also going nicely. Back with the men, now the Ethiopian champion putting in a dash. Brad Potgieter working hard for Road Cover. Closing in on the finish and the sprinters all there. Cape Town Cycle Tour winner Clint Hendricks, Jade Julius, Shamik Sali and of course Nolan Hoffman. And the big man was in prime form, timing his kick to perfection. He bolted over the line ahead of Hendricks and Ruan de Proy of Team Giant to take the win once more.
The competition lived up to expectations, with Dimension Data, Continental team really took it to the bunch out there. It was aggressive, it was chaos, but we just recently rebranded as Team BCX. So this is like the first victory in the new colour, so really happy with the win.
Back to the women's race now. They're on the Marine Drive. 6 or 7 women in the mix amongst the vets men. They're all closing in on some of the back markers in the 55-kilometre race. After a crash on the run-in, it was down to 3 riders and Henriette Skuman completed the double a week after winning the mountain bike event.
Yes, like I expected a really good sprint from Anli, but it was all about sitting in the right place at the right time, and things worked out in my favour today, so I was happy to finish first because I know Anli's got a hell of a kick on her.
With the clouds burning off and the temperatures rising, the majority of the field were loving the ride.
It's beautiful. There's no gale force winds, and now we've got the wind behind us, so we're going to race home.
If you wanted an ice cream, you had to be fast. While winning may be important to a few, to most, the main objective was to have fun. And that seemed to have been achieved.
55 guys, weather's good. It's good to be with my friend. We're having fun.
And even those who had a rough day appeared to have been happy finishers.
It was beautiful. I love it.
Anyone can do it. If your mindset's right, your heart is there, you can do it. Beautiful route. We were just discussing it, my mate and I, just discussing it. Some nice hills, challenging hills. But yeah, we'll be back.
Even the city's mayor took to the roads on the bike.
These events are just amazing for the city. This city is making a name for itself to be a sport tourism destination, and an event like this with the beautiful weather that we had today just really pumps it up. And I mean, some of the views along this ride really rival the Argus, which is the sort of top race in South Africa, and we really blessed to have a place like this. So I hope this race goes from strength to strength, and today people had a really good day.
This is a unique event. It's not the big Joburg or the Cape Town cycle tours. It's something unique. It's in the friendly city. We're trying to keep it friendly, but the families are definitely a big part of growing this particular event and the sport. And I think we're seeing a great uptake. I think we might have a few more people next year.
This year we've decided that this is one of our communication platforms going forward. So we will be using more and more of these events going forward with bicycle running, trail running, and also fitting into our Vision Zero strategy. So one of our communication platforms. And it was great fun, great weekend, 2 weekends in a row, super.
A spectacular couple of weekends cycling at the Herald Continental Cycle Tour. Nolan Hoffman winning in a shade over 2.5 hours from Clint Hendricks and Ruan Deploy. Henriette Skuman outsprinting Anli Kachelhofer in 3 hours and 46 seconds with Siska van der Bijl third. You've been watching the 2017 Herald Continental Cycle Tour.